Hey, Richard, Tubb here. I want to talk today about peer groups. I am joined by the illustrious leader of the tech tribe, Nigel Moore. How you doing, Nigel?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about peer groups. So you and I have both had really positive experiences, haven't we, with peer groups in Australia and the UK. So for me, specifically, when I ran my managed service provider business, the growth of that business was really accelerated by going to what we had here in the UK, which was the small business specialist communities. You had a similar experience, didn't you, in Australia?
Yeah, we had the what I think started off as a small business server community, the SBSC community, and then shifted its name to the SMB IT Professionals out here. And I remember in my very first year of starting my MSP back in about 2008, I somehow stumbled across this website for the SMB IT Pro. I actually think it might have still been called SBS back then. And they were talking about these meetings, and I trotted along to a meeting at a Microsoft building out here, and sat in this room with a bunch of other IT support companies back then. There wasn't a lot of managed service providers because we're all doing break fix. And I was sitting there thinking, what are all these competitors doing in the same room? Like,
yeah,
what is going on here? This is weird. And I'm sitting there at the back, and break time comes and pizza comes out, and we're all sitting there eating pizza, and I'm kind of shy and in the corner, scared crapless of speaking to anyone because they're all my big, nasty competitors. And this guy starts speaking to me, and I talked to him about managed services, and I say, I'm looking to move my first client across. It's a break fix client that I've had across the managed services. And he goes, oh, cool. What's your email address? And I'm like, uh-oh, is he going to try and spam me here or something? And so I give it to him, and he emails me his entire managed service agreement template contract. And I went, what the, like, my mind just went, boom, blew my mind open that a competitor 10 miles down the road from me handed me his managed service agreement template that I was trying to figure out how to build my own for like $5,000 worth of labor or of legal fees and whatever. And that began my journey into the community space, where I learned and got so much value out of hanging with peers on a monthly basis in these meetups where we'd all become friends in the area. We're all competitors, but we all became friends and very close friends. And I've still got a number of them to this day, just helping and sharing each other. And I have loved the MSP community ever since, because we're such an open and giving and sharing community. And that's, of course, a little bit behind why I started the tribe. But the thing about our business is that we all just love helping each other so damn much. Sometimes, often to the detriment of our own business. We'll focus more on helping another competitor than we will about our own profits. And I love that caringness about our industry. It's kind of cool.
It is. And we've got a fairly unique industry here, haven't we? Because people outside of the industry would look at what we do as MSPs, helping one another. And that old phrase, a rising tide lifts all boats. And they're like, why you sit in a room and talk to competitors about your business? You share your secret sauce with them. And we absolutely do, because there's enough clients around for everybody. But for anybody in the MSP industry watching this today who is not aware of the peer community and are looking at us and thinking, you're crazy, sitting in a room sort of sharing your secret sauce with others. This is really typical, really common, isn't it? Because across the world, there used to be dozens, if not hundreds, of these type of groups where people get together every month, in a hotel meeting room or in a bar or in a restaurant or whatever, and talk about business. And the reason we're here today to talk about the Tech Tribe local groups is that sort of died away, didn't it, a few years ago, and stopped happening. And I think the pandemic really sort of put an end to it altogether, didn't it?
Yeah, I think SBSC on its decline, because the groups were traditionally formed around small business server, that had a play in it, that people started shifting their focus towards the cloud. And a lot of the people that were in some of those groups traditionally didn't make that shift to the cloud, and they didn't end up surviving through it. But now there's a very crazy healthy ecosystem of cloud providers out there, or whatever you want to call the current version of an MSP, whether it's a TSP or an MSP or an IT support provider or whatever it happens to be. And so as those things kind of teetered down, then I think COVID kind of put the nail in the coffin for a number of them around the world. I know that happened over in the UK pretty heavily, because no one was able to meet up in person again. And so for us, I just see this massive opportunity to go and build and curate and hold space in these meetings for MSPs or ITSPs or whatever you call yourself all around the world, to hang out with each other again and have fun without too much vendor input. We might talk a little bit about some vendors being able to come in and help out make these things fun, but we want them to really be about the conversations that happen in them, because you know what it's like. We were talking recently, you and I, when you go to a conference and everybody used to traditionally just head straight towards watching all of the sessions in there. Nowadays, everybody hangs and waits in the meeting, in the lunch rooms and in the hallways to go and hang out and have those deep conversations with all their other their peers in there, because that's where you get so much damn value, is having those in-person conversations with people. And we host an online community, so we kind of have a little bit of a play in that, but in person is so darn powerful. And with what we're doing, we just want to keep that going around the world and provide another container or another space for that to happen, where all these deep conversations about pricing and packaging and mindset and mental health and productivity and all the different things that go along with running an MSP or a small IT business or a large IT business come to play. And so that's what, for me, it's all about, is bringing that sense of in-person community back to people.
Yeah. So let's talk about the practicality of it. So when I started working with you within the Tech Tribe as our illustrious leader, we had a conversation up front, didn't we? And we said, you know, this online community, brilliant. The Tech Tribe is absolutely flourishing. People getting great value out of it. But we want to bring those in-person meetings back. And then, of course, COVID happened, all that put on sale. So where we are today, recording this in October 2021, and we've got a pilot scheme up and running here in the UK. We have got user groups or peer groups, whatever name you want to give them. It's basically the MSP community getting together in rooms, in person, sharing the good stuff, having conversations, talking about best practice, talking about what's going right in their business, talking about what's going wrong in their business, helping one another. Now, I'm at home in the studio here, garage in Newcastle upon Tyne. We've got a group that we've started that's been going a couple of months in Heaton in Newcastle upon Tyne for the northeast of England. Robert Gibbons has got a group running in Manchester for the northwest of the country. We've got a group kicking off next month in Edinburgh. We've got a group kicking off in London. We've got groups in East Anglia, Dublin, Bristol, Swansea, North Wales, Birmingham, Staffordshire. It's all going on. I haven't even
heard of some of these.
But we're not just going to stop here, are we? So this is a pilot scheme that we're running in the UK to sort of see if the appetite's there for it. And it is. And we're going to be rolling these out all across the world. So talk about your vision for Europe, for Australia, for North America.
We've already got a ton of interest from MSPs over in the US to start running these things as well. And what we're really looking for is just MSP owners or even vendors that are operating the space to just step up and be willing to facilitate a group each month in a particular area. We will handle all the logistics and providing promotion of it and stuff like that. But we're really just looking for, because my vision for it is just every single month all around the world is that any MSP that's in an area where there's enough people has a place to plug into and go and hang out with people to go and have those conversations. And I know back when I had my MSP, those conversations were the highlight of my month in my business and even in my personal life, because I got to go and hang out with my friends and more importantly, talk good business and talk, as you said before, what are the struggles we're going through and what are the pain points and what are the mistakes we're making and lessons we're learning. And so my vision for this is just seeing this ecosystem of all these groups led by members and non-members all around the world, where members and non-members can all come in and hang out. And the way I get a little bit of flack for this in the MSP industry, and that I think MSPs and vendors are one. We're all part of this one ecosystem.
Agreed. Totally agree.
And so I tend to include vendors in a lot of conversations that I have, because they're such an important part of an MSP's journey, is having a really strong foundation and relationship with our vendor. What's the word I'm looking for there? Our vendor ecosystem out there. And so these groups are not just limited to MSPs. They're also limited to the vendors to come in. However, we will keep everybody under, we'll have some guidelines or what we'll call tribal laws on how people should show up to these. And they're not pitch rooms. They're not somewhere where they can go and jump up front and try and pitch their product and stand at the front and throw their business card out to everybody. If people want to come in and join these things, vendor, MSP, whatever, they're there. The whole purpose is to come and provide help to who is in the room and receive some help in return, hopefully, but not by the way of pitching. They're not a business networking group. They are a peer group / mastermind thing. And the way I see it is, if vendors come in with the right spirit, they will make these things amazing. And there will be much closer collaborations from between MSPs and the vendors out there that will be able to really help our industry. That whole rising tide floats all boats thing in there. If you can help your vendors improve their product and help vendors have a better relationship with MSPs and help the MSPs and understand their challenges really deeply, because you're really deep in those conversations that they're having, our industry will skyrocket through the growth that we're already going through, and vendors will have a much better chance of rolling out better products and rolling out better practices and dealing with their partners a whole lot better as well. So I see the vendor space very important in there. But ultimately, this thing is about MSPs and IT support providers, or whatever you want to call yourself, having a space in a room with the ecosystem around them to help. At its core, though, is its priority is on helping MSPs have that space to get help, give help, see what's happening, keep up to date with what's happening, and have a bit of fun in the process.
Yeah. So let's talk logistics. If you're watching this and you're intrigued, if you've been to a peer group before, you know the power of it. So you're going to be interested in coming along. If you've never been to a peer group, a user group before, you're going to be like, okay, I've heard Nigel and Richard talk about it. I still don't quite get it. The best way to get it is to get involved. You can just sit there quietly at the meetings, absorb everything that's going on if you want, maybe take a few tips away from your competitors and go away, never come back again. What you will find, though, when you come along to the meeting, you will see there is a room full of people who want to help you to grow your business. It's a community. It all works together. Logistically, what does it look like then? So we are piloting this scheme in the UK at the moment. We're going to have groups all around the UK. I've already talked about, we've got Newcastle, Staffordshire, Birmingham, Edinburgh, Dublin, Manchester, London, everywhere else going on. And there are more being added every month. We will update the website with details of all of those groups. But if you're watching this, whichever part of the world you're in, and interested in attending a tech tribe tribal gathering, a local meetup, whatever you want to call these things, just have a look on the website, but get yourself along to the meeting. There is no charge to attend. Doesn't matter if you're a tech triber, not a tech triber, a vendor, an MSP, an IT solution provider, a VAR, a one-man band, anything in between. You are very, very welcome to come along to the group. And the way the group meetings look like, of course, every group leader does things ever so slightly differently in their own flavor. But typically the groups start up with just like a 5-10 minute bit of news, what's going on in the industry. So keep you up to date on what's happening out there. And then typically the groups jump into 2 round tables. First round table, we in our Newcastle group call this pre-pizza, because we have a pizza halfway through. And we decide upon a topic that is voted on by the group, and everybody has a conversation. So for instance, last week in our group in the northeast of England, we talked about recruitment and outsourcing. Everybody's having a challenge with that. Some really good ideas. We break for refreshments, have a spot of pizza. Again, no cost to you. It's all involved. And then the second half, we typically have an open roundtable where you can talk about anything and everything managed service provider. Then what happens afterwards? You get the date in the diary for the next month if you want to come along to that. And lots of the group typically then disappear off to the pub or a restaurant, continue the conversation. As Nigel said, the real value in these events is having chats with people, isn't it? Catching up with people. So that's the vision for the group, Nigel, isn't it? And we've already got a load of interest, not just in the UK, but in Europe and further afield as well.
Yeah, 100%. I have already seen a bunch of photos from you guys over there, and I'm jealous that I'm not allowed to go to the UK and go and hang out with you all. But I'm seeing them where there's 10, 15, 20. I think one of them you had 30 something people in the room.
Yeah. And
we're having these deep roundtables around that all those hot topics. And to me, that's what it's all about. That's what we're in a space now where we've got thousands and thousands and thousands of tech tribers all around the world, in that we can help promote these things and we can help provide the loose frameworks for how they should operate, because as Richard said, like every person that's going to host one of these is going to have their own flavor for how they want to do things, and every group is going to have its own dynamics of how we want to do things. But for us, the key ingredients are tiny little bit of news, a bunch of masterminding / hot topics of the month, maybe a little tiny with vendor presentation in there that's business focused. So we want to make sure that they're not just going and showing their product and feature and just running through their line items of the features in their thing. They're going in there and giving real world stuff. And that's going to be very rare because of the way we're negotiating the vendor sponsorship of these things to make sure that our partners don't have to pay, is that we're putting some pretty strict borders, like guidelines in there, to just make sure that they don't turn into these pitch fests from people, which most vendors play nice, but sometimes you get a vendor that comes through and goes a little bit crazy. So we're putting that in space. And then And then again, it's just back into that mastermind stuff, and then into the hanging out, the networking, and the having fun. And I used to remember ours. We used to I think it was 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock they used to go to. And then a bunch of us would go downstairs. We used to hire a room at a local club here. And then a bunch would go downstairs, and we'd be there till sometimes 1 a.m. in the morning, still just talking shop, still just talking about all the challenges that we're all having and all the things we're working on and whatever. And it was, to me, that was what it was all about. It was an amazing bloody time of catching up and building relationships and just learning from other people. And I credit user groups and peer groups and SMB IT Pro in my journey as one of the key things that helped me progress along, just seeing what other people were doing.
Yeah, exactly the same with my managed service provider business. Yeah,
right. And I just want to see us. That's what Richard and I say. We just see us now in a great spot to be able to provide that space for people all around the world. And as we grow the tribe and we get to 5,000 and 10,000 people, there'll be a whole lot more people that we can get along to these things, and that will open them up into smaller areas as well that might not have too many partners in them nowadays. So yeah, I'm kind of excited to see more and more of these things pop up all around the place. Some of them might operate on a monthly cadence because there's so many people in the area. Some might operate on every second month basis, and some where there's only there's only a few people in the area, and a lot of people have got to travel an hour or two to get into the area. Some might only operate in one every 3 months if they're in that particular scenario. But for me, if they've got some sort of regular cadence and they've got a way to hang out with each other and build some relationships and have people to lean on for support when they need support, and to give support when someone needs some support, I think, to me, that's what it's all about. And I'm bloody excited. As you can tell, I feel like I'm pitching and positioning bloody a set of steak knives here that never goes blunt. But I do get excited about both. This.
I'm super excited about this, and I'm like super excited heading things up in the UK and getting these groups going, because I just know how much this helps MSPs and the MSP community grow. So if you're watching this, you want to get involved. If you are a tech triber already, hello, go into the tribal forums. You will find all the details of a group near you. If there isn't a group near you, and you're interested in getting one started, let us know, because Nigel and I, Fatima, the whole team will give you all of our support in promoting it, in helping educate you how to run these meetings. Everything that you need, we will help with. If you are not a tech triber, don't worry. These groups are open to everyone. We are not going to pitch you on the tech tribe.
Nope.
This is not about
you can go for the next 10 years without being a tech tribe member. I don't mind. Like it's a community initiative, not a tech tribe initiative.
Exactly. So go along to tubb.co/tech tribe local, and you can see all the details of a group local to you. And again, if you're not a tech triber and want to come along to these groups, but there isn't a group near you, let us know. Get in touch with me, richard@tubblog.co.uk, and we will put you in touch with someone else in your area who is interested, and who knows, we might be able to get a group up and running. But it's open to tribers, non-tribers, meet monthly. Vendors are very, very welcome, but no pitching. And we're going to have a good time. We are going to help the community to grow. A rising tide lifts all boats, and it is going to be awesome. Nigel, do you think we can get together at a group in person, you and I?
Man, if I'm ever allowed out of my own country, maybe. I believe we're lifting the international travel laws at the end of this year for me to be able to leave and come out. So I can't wait to go and hang out at some. I would love to go and.
Where's equidistant between you in Sydney and me in Newcastle upon Tyne? It's going to be either
probably Dubai
or Siberia or something. One of the two.
Maybe
we'll make sure to have a user group there, and we'll get together and co-host it. How about that?
Well, you know me. I'm normally over in the UK a couple of times each year. We travel to France normally a minimum once a year for family over there, and so whenever I'm there, I will be over hanging out at the U. And I'll have to make sure that because we're trying to keep them on a set week each month. A lot of them around the place, so I'll have to make sure that I head over to the UK during that week so I can go and hopefully get a chance to hang out at a bunch of them.
Yeah. Well, I cannot wait to spend a little bit of time with you in person, my friend. For anybody
drinking
watching
green juices and water.
We want you to come to these groups to see what it's all about. This is not a big pitch. This is not there's no catch here. Just get yourself along to the groups. You'll see what it's about. And we just want to see people out there, don't we, Nigel?
Likewise, until we ask for your firstborn at the first meeting. That's the big catch.
We're keeping that for later on. Just don't mention that.
Then for us, this is actually a cost to the tech tribe. It's going to cost us money to put these things on, but and the amount of time that we invest into the back end and everything. But to me, it's just a community initiative. As we said before, that kind of cliched phrase of a rising tide floats all boats, it's just very true. And Richard and I are both redonkulously passionate about the industry. We're there to make money in the tribe. The tribe makes money, of course, but it's not just what it's all about. It's also about building this crazy, awesome ecosystem of support around the world. And to us, if we can be a part of creating a space for that, that's awesome. And I don't care if it costs us some money. I don't care if we have some groups that only have 3 people show up to them for a year in a row, as long as those 3 people are getting some support and knowing that they've got some help to lean on. To me, that's a win all around.
Absolutely. So get yourself, if you're in the tribe, go into the forums, you will find all the details. If you are not a triber, go to tubb.co/tech tribe local and find out all the details. And we will look forward to seeing you at a local group really, really soon. Cheers.
Bye for now.